What's up, guys? This is Mike Casu, and you're listening to the Brute Strength Podcast. This week, I interview the host of ABC's Extreme Weightloss, Chris Powell. Chris has worked with over 70 individuals on the show that have lost between 150 and 300 pounds. So we talk a lot about the psychological approach that he takes with those clients and how we both think those lessons transfer over to people with any type of goal, whether it be you just want to get a little bit fitter, you want to lose a little bit of weight, or you want to make some huge change in your life. We talk about things like building integrity in oneself, and he says specifically how he does this with his clients. We talk about some of the biggest pitfalls people make or have when trying to lose weight or have some other goal that they just can't accomplish. This one is just full of some very deep and meaningful things that I think relate to everyone. So hope you take the time to listen. I know you'll enjoy the show.
Oh, hello.
Chris, what's up, man?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Very good. Thanks again for doing this. I'm excited.
Oh my gosh, of course, anytime.
So I'm going to jump in with something that is pretty heavy, but I think it's a good place to start. I think it lays it just kind of shows where you're coming from when you're working with your clients and stuff like that. So I think it's a good place to start. So I know you and I come from a very similar background. We both struggled with substance abuse and whatnot. Can you tell us a little bit about your rock bottom experience, kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, and specifically I'm talking about emotionally. What was going on? How did you know it was time to make a change? And maybe you tried to make a change several times and struggled with it. And so, how did you get over that hump?
Yeah, this is some hard hitting journalism here, brother. But though I'm glad you asked, because it is a really big part of who I am and really where I came from. Actually, just listening to kind of what you're saying, my journey was definitely a lot of the latter of what you just mentioned. Is that it was like, I knew there was a problem, and then I would quote unquote try to do something about it. Like I'd try to cut back, or I'd try to go cold turkey, and it was something that I quote unquote tried and failed countless times.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you how many times I would end up going, a day, 2 days without, and then just the chemical depression would set in, the cramps, just the aches and the pains and everything. And then, then your mind is such a powerful, such a powerful machine, and that voice gets so loud and it seems so rational, and so convincing as to why you should take it again, So, I definitely went through that time and time again, because there is no real motivating force that was strong enough to get me through it. I didn't want it bad enough, I guess life just hadn't gotten painful enough yet.
Right.
But the rock bottom moment was actually when I financially lost everything, and it reached a point I couldn't pay rent. My car was being repossessed, and I ended up packing up all my stuff. And it was that moment, like kind of like that realization of, oh my gosh, I don't have a roof over my head anymore. Mm-hmm. And fortunately, the next door neighbor was a really good guy. He was an older guy, kind of a mentor to me, and he knew a little bit about what was going on. I started to confide in him when I realized that I was starting to lose everything. And then so I packed up everything. I threw it in the trunk of my car, and I walked next door, just knocked on his door. I said, hey, Dave, mind if I just crash on your couch for the night? And it's because I couldn't live where I was living anymore. And so he brought me in. We sat down and we talked all night. And he said, hey, dude, why don't you stay here for the next couple weeks, clean yourself up, and we'll just take it from there.
Wow. How well did you know this guy?
Oh, he was my next door neighbor for almost a year,
mm-hmm.
and just a really good guy. He was also in the exercise industry for years. He had retired. He had actually done really well with Precor of all
Okay.
things. He was up in the Pacific Northwest, and just a really nice, supportive guy. In fact, we'd worked out a handful of times together, but it was that was I must say that was like that rock bottom moment where I was like I kind of had to lose everything in order to get there.
Right.
I mean, it's it's interesting to say, but I know a lot of folks who've been through the same kind of situation. They see the same thing. I had to lose everything to finally realize, to get that slap in the face to say, look, something's got to change here, because like right now you've made life extremely painful for yourself.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if you want, you can continue to hit yourself over the head with this hammer, or you can do something different about it.
Right. Yeah, they say it takes what it takes, and it takes something different for everyone, right? So
Wow.
it seems like it's all about motivation, and the more painful something is, the more motivation it's going to provide for you.
Totally.
I can absolutely relate with that. Are there any other mistakes you think you made when you tried to quit and failed? And if you can't think of anything else, that's okay.
Gosh, that's a great question. It's funny because every single time that I tried to quit and I failed, it was just the same. It was this continuously running conversation in my head of, this is a problem. You can't do this forever. You're using this as a crutch to live. And then it was every single time. Well, actually, I would say I took two approaches. I tried the cold turkey approach a handful of times, and like I mentioned before, a day, 2 days in, it was just physically extremely painful and emotionally painful, because you go through into that chemical depression. And then I was like, okay, that didn't work so well. Then I tried the weaning method, where it's like, okay, instead of taking 10 today, I'm going to take 6.
Yeah,
And then sure enough,
we love that method.
Yeah. But it was funny because I would take 6, and then, because there's the addict inside that's always looking for something. It's funny. I would take 6, and I'd end up drinking like 8 cups of coffee, and then I'd take like 3 Valium or something
Right,
like that,
right.
because you're always looking for something else to kind of fill that void.
Right.
And then, but at the same time, you're still, because your body's used to so much, and then when you don't take it, you're still going to go through that chemical depression. And so it was the same, just try and fail. And until
Right.
you, like I said, just got to reach that point where it was so painful. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to grit my teeth. I'm going to make it through, the rough, quote unquote, those 3 days. And then after that, you kind of come out on the other side of it, and you're like, oh, okay, maybe I can do this.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did you get better?
Well, like I had mentioned, my neighbor Dave, he let me sleep on his couch, and so it was a long 3 days, kind of just hanging out in his guest bedroom, and just kind of grinding through it there. And then after those 3 days, I started to feel a little bit better. And now, true to my fashion, I started drinking a lot more coffee.
Yeah.
Because I needed something to kind of fill the void. And
Man, 8 years later, I'm in that same boat, drinking a lot of coffee.
Yeah, totally, right. And then and it was like planning. It was like all what I needed was just some kind of hope. And hope at that time was, what I'm going to do? I'm going to drive to California, and I'm going to start over in California, because all my problems are here in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And it was this conversation that I was, of course, having in my head. And, in California, everything's going to happen for me, and, it's all going to work out. And I'm going to, I can train so many more people, and and of course, California prices, I can charge an arm and a leg, and, I'm going to do great out there. And, oddly enough, like just that little bit of hope helped me, because it, kept me from thinking about all the other financial problems that I had in Arizona and everything that I was running away from there. Mm-hmm. So, I was trying this whole geographical therapy approach, where I'm thinking, okay, if I go to California, my problems aren't going to follow me there.
Right.
And so I planned it all out. And after 2 weeks at Dave's place, I picked up and actually drove out to California, and I was staying on a friend's couch out there for a few weeks. And but I realized after just a couple days in California, I woke up and I was like, all my problems are still here.
Yeah.
I mean, I still have all my financial issues. I'm still
Right.
in a couple $100,000 of debt. And the people that I owe, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about painkillers a lot. Thinking that's that's going to make me feel better, so I don't have to think about my other problems. And so it's funny because after about week and a half about a week and a half in California, I quickly realized that geographical therapy didn't work, and that if I'm really going to do something about this, I got to face my problems head on. And I'm one person. I'm not going to try to tackle them all at once, but slowly but surely, I'm going to dig myself out of this. And it's gonna. And I gave myself realistic expectations that I knew it was going to take a long time, and I knew it was going to take years to get out of this financial hole I'd put myself in, and all the debt, etc. But I just said, you know what? I mean, there's only one way I can do this, and it's just, $1 at a time. I'm going to earn it back, and I'm going to pay everyone back, and I'm going to figure myself out. So I also realized, though, like, as I was leaving California, it's funny because when I was dreaming about going to California, because I thought it was going to solve all my problems, as I was going back to Arizona to kind of face all my problems, it was so depressing to me that I needed something to look forward to. And so it's actually, as I was driving out of town, I stopped at a tattoo parlor on Ventura Boulevard in Century City. No, I'm sorry, not Century. It was in Sherman Oaks. And, maybe it was Studio City. I think it was Studio City. Stopped at this tattoo parlor, and I ended up getting a tattoo down my side. And it was my promise to myself. It was like the one thing that was going to give me hope, and it was a commitment that I couldn't get out of. And I was like, you know what? I needed some kind of purpose, and unbeknownst at the time, I didn't even realize that what I was doing was actually one of the huge psychological and emotional components to transformation. But I gave myself a purpose at that time, and I wanted a purpose that was so much bigger than me. And by that time, I had actually helped a handful of people through some pretty significant transformations, and it was extremely fulfilling. Helping these other people through their weight loss journeys, even while I was struggling on mine. Through my own problems. And it made me feel so good, and it gave me such a sense of fulfillment that as I was going back to Arizona to face all my problems, I just said, you know what, by the time, and I said, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I just know that by the time I leave this earth, I want to make a positive impact in 1 million lives. That was my promise. It was like, some people call it a BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal.
Yep.
And I thought, okay, so how am I going to do this? I don't know. I'm broke. I'm in lots of debt. I'm in recovery right now. But I tattooed the Roman numerals 1 through 1 million down my side, and I checked off the first one because I said, if I'm going to do this, it all starts with one person. I got to fix myself first. I have to make a positive difference in my life. So check that off, and then the next number down was 100, then 500, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, and 1 million. And so I drove back to Arizona. I ended up contacting, the very first big transformation I did was this gentleman, David Smith, who became one of my closest friends. And he and his family opened up their doors to me, and they let me sleep on their couch for a good 4 months while I was getting back on my feet and starting to work again, starting to train. And then once I started making some money, I actually got into, I could actually afford rent again. David moved out from his parents' house, and we got a place together.
And you had already worked with David and helped him through his own transformation at this time?
Correct. And,
Okay.
and in fact, so David at this time, he had lost 400 pounds.
Jesus.
When we met, he was 635 pounds.
Holy shit.
And yeah, and so he lost, like I helped him through his whole journey down to 229 pounds. I helped him. And
That is
then
incredible.
reached out to all my buddies that were like doctors and surgeons, and we removed all the skin, got his eyes lasered and his teeth done, and helped him find a girlfriend and all this stuff. And
Jesus.
it was awesome.
It's
It was the
amazing.
coolest thing in the world. He became one of my best friends. So when I came back, he's like, dude, no problem. You know, you can crash on the couch with my family. And I mean, they were wonderful people. I mean, let me actually just move in with them for 4 months
Right.
and literally just sleep on the couch. And so once I got back on my feet, David moved out, and we ended up getting our own little place together. And I helped him get certified as an ACE trainer, and got him a job at the local big box gym. And I mean, it was just a really cool experience. And actually, it's funny because it was just 2 months after that. This is December of 2008 now. I ended up going to a self-improvement seminar, just trying to, once again, I was in this mode of of fixing myself. It wasn't, I mean, you call it selfish, but it was really in this huge recovery mode. And it wasn't so much as fixing myself. I was really trying to understand myself and my behavior and why I did what I did, how I am who I am, and this whole period of kind of self-discovery and exploration. So I ended up, reading a lot of self-help books, signed up for this self-help seminar, and just 2 days into the seminar, that's when I met my current and only wife, Heidi.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, current. Did I just say current?
Nice.
Yes. I have only one wife, and I only plan on being married once. And so, um, and she was actually she was going through a really difficult time in her life as well, as a single mom with two kids, and just going through some really tough times. And so we kind of met at one of the lowest points of our lives, but we were both kind of on the upswing, and we came together, and it was just incredible chemistry and friendship and appreciation and trust. And gosh, I mean, dare I say the rest is history, because we got a lot of time to talk. But yeah, that's really where everything came from. And in hindsight, I am so blessed to have had that experience, to have gone through those tough times, because I'll be the first to admit that before that, there was an air of, I mean, I hesitate to say, like, I wasn't cocky or conceited, but I didn't think it's funny, because I would run into other people that struggled, and I was like, oh, I would never struggle with that. No, that would never happen to me. That's where I suffered from. It was that would never happen to me syndrome.
Right.
And then very quickly, I realized that I'm human too, and I needed for that to happen. It was very humbling, and also I remember, like, during my downfall, I was the local TV fitness pro on the morning news. And so it was about creating this huge front of, I'm the face of health and fitness. And every Monday morning I'll get out there, and I tell the Southwest, how to be healthy and make healthy foods and exercise and do all this stuff. And while I was extremely passionate about it, and I am, because that's totally what changed my life. Like, I love fitness, and I am passionate about it. At the same time, I was really struggling through an addiction, and there was a big mask in front of me at all times.
Right.
And it was that ego that actually fueled my addiction, because if I had been courageous enough to talk about it, to open up to other people about my problem early on, I don't think it would have lasted nearly as long. But I was so busy trying to look so good in front of everybody else, because I was the quote-unquote fitness guy. I'm the face of health and fitness, that it was my ego that really buried me.
Right.
And I needed that ego check.
Yeah, I think sometimes the smartest and the most successful people can have the hardest time recovering, because it can't be them. They're too smart. They're too too successful. So their lives aren't bad enough to stop yet, right?
Totally.
And I think as well with that, you said it taught you humility, and I can 100% relate to that. It was incredibly humbling. And it also, at the same time, kind of inversely removes fear from certain things. If you've gone through, and I'll speak from personal experience, like having gone through that experience, taking leaps, saying doing this podcast or doing things on social media, stuff like that, like they're not nearly as scary, right? I've gone through this, so I can definitely do that. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so true. And like I was saying before, though, it was one of those things, and you know what I must say is like the funniest thing about the whole experience, though, just like looking back, hindsight's I was 2020, but I look back and I think about when I really started to open up and talk about my struggles with painkillers and my struggles with prescription drugs, etc. And the moment I started talking about it, I was so scared that other people would look down on me and they would turn their back on me. But instead, so many of my family and friends and people I didn't even know, they started coming forward and saying, "Oh yeah, me too. Oh, me too. Oh, me too." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, wow, I'm not alone. Oh, this is fantastic." Because you talk to anybody who's struggling with an addiction, whether it's food or drugs or sex or anything, it's so isolating and it's so lonely. But the moment you have the courage to actually open up about it and talk about it, then you realize that everybody else is going through it too.
Right.
And when you do that, it gives everyone around you permission to open up and start healing too.
Right.
And that was the coolest thing about that experience. And that's also what gave me a whole new appreciation for the folks that I'm blessed to work with. They come into my life and I can say, "Hey, this isn't like a trainer-client relationship. This is a human-human relationship. We're all in this boat together. We're a team. And by the way, hey, I'm human too. So let's go through this together. Here's my struggles. Tell me about yours. Right. Oh, that's cool. Well, what can I do to help you make it through it? Because guess what? You're not alone."
I love that. Yeah, absolutely, man. Do you think that experience, going through all of that, gives you kind of a unique ability to connect with people with food addiction and people that are very overweight?
I it gives me an ability to connect with them. I don't know if it's a unique ability, because the thing is, everybody's struggling with something, but it's just the question is who's courageous enough to say it first.
Right.
And so that's definitely been a huge part of my approach, is like when we select these individuals that we're going to take them through this process of transformation, that's the part of the very first conversation that we have is, well, let me tell you a little bit about myself first. And we open up, and that's when the communications can start to happen, and from that point forward we can really start to build trust. Because trust is really necessary if you're going to allow somebody to guide you through a journey to a better life, happier, healthier life. You need to trust them. And so transparency and authenticity those are key ingredients in my approach and in Heidi's approach. He's just like I'm speaking very openly about this. Heidi speaks extremely openly about her 10-year eating disorder, and where it was a severe eating disorder, and she'll have that for life. But now it's about learning how to control that and learning how to channel that kind of energy and those thought processes into something that's going to be healthier for her. Right. So our approach is it's almost laughable because, we'll walk in the room and be like, "All right, guys, you think this is all about diet and exercise, but let's tell you a little bit about ourselves first." And then we just kind of open up with that. And then, while everyone's kind of sitting there picking their jaws up off the floor, like, "I can't believe you just told us about all this." We're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, we are human too. We're all in this together. Now, how can we help you?"
Right, Right.
Yeah.
So that leads me to my next question. So I know the psychological. Actually, before we even go into that, I know a lot of the listeners may not even know about the show. So for those of you who don't know, Chris has been the host of ABC's show Extreme Weight Loss for how many years now?
Oh, 5 seasons now.
5 seasons.
Yeah.
And Extreme Weight Loss, I mean, he's helped several people lose over 200 pounds in a year. And these are people that have tried every single thing in the book, and they just can't seem to tackle it, like completely life-changing transformations. And I really can't even begin to do a single one of those episodes justice. So I highly recommend going and watch one. If you're going to watch one, go watch Bruce Pitcher's episode. He's a dear friend of both of ours, and that one will inspire you if nothing else. So go check that show out, and then that's where Chris is coming from. Did I leave anything off on there?
No, man, you definitely hit the nail on the head. Fortunately, though, it's been quite a few more than a couple transformations. We've done 70-something transformations now, and we're talking, between 150 to 300 pounds lost in a year. Helping these people, physically lose the body fat, but really emotionally helping them find happiness. It's crazy. That's really what the transformation is about. So we've definitely been blessed to have this opportunity to do what we do, and so we're looking forward to keeping it going.
That's amazing, and it's if it was an easy thing to do, then I think there would be thousands of strength and conditioning coaches and personal trainers out there doing the same thing, but there aren't. So there's something that you guys are doing differently that is working. So I want to talk about integrity. You guys talk to your clients a lot about integrity. So what does that mean to you, and how do you teach it to your clients?
Yes, and that, you just said the magic word. That is what we do that not a lot of other people touch upon. And we focus always on integrity first. You can't have a conversation about lifelong weight loss, about transformation, without having that conversation about integrity first. So I'll define integrity. Integrity is doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. And there's a lot to be said about this, because like when folks come to us that are, when we'll take a room of 40 individuals, and they will range between 350 to 500 pounds, sometimes 600 pounds, who knows, and we'll stand up there in front of the group, and like I had mentioned, we tell them all, most of you are here thinking that we're going to talk to you about diet and exercise, but that's far from the truth. The first thing we're going to talk to you about is, number one, being open and authentic, and number two, we're here to talk about integrity. And we usually take a poll right off the bat. We say, how many of you, we just want to know how you guys feel about yourselves. So, and does anyone want to answer that? And a couple of hands pop up. I'll call on those hands, and I'll say, how do you feel about yourself? And what do you think the common answer is?
Repeat the question for me.
Oh, it's like when we always ask people, hey, what do you think about yourself?
They always say they're feeling pretty fucking shitty about themselves.
Yeah,
that would be my guess.
Yeah, I hate myself. I hate myself.
I don't trust myself. I always let myself down.
Yep. And literally just hand after hand after hand, I hate myself. I hate myself. I hate myself. And I'm like, okay, well, why do you hate yourself? It's like, okay, I get it. You hate yourself. Why? And then, they'll say, well, look at me. I'm 500 pounds. Look at me. I can't control myself. I tried and failed a million times. I say, I hear what you're saying, but one thing that's really clear to me right now is that none of you really know why. And I'm about to tell you right now, and I'm about to piss all of you off. And so I always have to preface with that before they charge me. But I'll stand up there at the front of the room, and I'll look out there at the 40 to 50 individuals that were about to take through this epic transformation, and I'll say, you are all sitting in this room right now because none of you have integrity. And you just see their faces drop, and you see them scowl, and you see them cross their arms, and they start positioning themselves, and they're like, "Oh man, screw you!" You know exactly what they're thinking. And I said, "Hold on, before you guys kill me, let me explain a few things here." And I'm just going to ask a few questions. But first, I'm going to tell you integrity, like I told you just before. It's doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. And if any of you had integrity, you wouldn't be in this room right now. And then someone always chimes in, "Screw you, man." You always get one of those across the room. And I'm like, okay, well, let's try something. How many of you have said the diet starts Monday?
Every hand raises.
Yeah, every hand goes, and everyone goes, "Oh man." I was like, okay. Well, how about 2010? That's my year. Oh man. How about 2011? How about 2012? Was that your year? Or 2013? This time it's different. 2014, here we go. I'm like, hey, we can go on forever. I mean, how many times have you, and I said, how many times have you told yourself you're going to do something? You've made a commitment to yourself and you haven't followed through. That's the kind of integrity I'm talking about. Because I don't doubt for a second that you all have integrity when it comes to other people. If you tell someone you're going to do something, then damn it, you do it. But when it comes to actually making a commitment to yourself, to the most important person in the world, to the only person in the world who has a direct effect on your well-being and your health and your long-term happiness, that's you. You can't keep a promise to yourself. If you had integrity and you said back in 2008 that the diet starts Monday, you wouldn't be here right now. And there's a lot of variables in here. It's like, that maybe the diet was restrictive and blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. Like, integrity doesn't know gray areas. Integrity knows either you did it or you didn't do it. It doesn't know exceptions. And integrity is the language of the soul. And it doesn't matter what language. It could be in Russian or Chinese or English or Spanish or whatever it is. If you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, then bad stuff happens. And then I explain it like from here. One of the biggest mistakes that people make is that they make a commitment. They say, okay, here we go, 2014, this is my year. And they think that, okay, that means I got to eat 5 small meals in a day. I got to drink a gallon of water. I'm going to portion size all my food. I'm going to, work out for 60 minutes. I'm going to do this and this. So instead of making a single commitment, they end up making, 10 to 15 monster commitments.
Right. And
they try to take this quantum leap. Whereas if they simply made a single commitment that they knew that they could keep, it would allow the foundation for transformation could be laid so much more solid. And I kind of jumped ahead here a little bit, and bear with me.
I love it. It's perfect.
Okay, I tangent a little bit here, like as my mind starts to wander, but I'm going to put it this way. For the people that actually get it, when this like totally changes their lives, and you'll see them, when I start talking about integrity and, how many times they've said the diet starts Monday and how many times they said 2000, whatever, this is my year. For those who truly understand, lifelong change begins the moment an individual understands the power of integrity. Because and I mentioned before that integrity is the language of the soul. Integrity is the building blocks for dignity. When this is all said and done, it doesn't matter if you're trying to lose 200 pounds, if you're trying to back squat 500 pounds, if you're trying to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, or whatever it is. When it's all said and done, I don't give a crap about what you weigh on the scale. I don't give a crap about the gravitational pull that the earth has on you.
Yeah.
What I want for everybody in that room is to love themselves. But to authentically and genuinely love themselves. Not to be like, well, I love myself. Look at me, I love myself. No, that's not genuine. That's not authentic. I want you to love yourself. And then I take examples from folks that we've worked with in the past. Like for anybody who's seen the show, it's really cool because over the course of a year, you see these individuals lose 200, 250 pounds in a year, which is awesome. But for those that really get it, the folks that we can really work with, when it's all said and done, you see them out there on stage. And yes, they're 250 pounds lighter, but their chest is out and their chin is high. And they they won. And you want to know why they win? It's because what you see is not so much, yeah, you see incredible physical change, but what you feel is their presence. You feel the fact that they really, truly love themselves. And anybody who's gone through this transformation, you ask them, like, does the number mean anything to you? They would say, absolutely not. But I am a promise keeper to myself. That's why I'm here right now. And I'll say that again, every extraordinary transformation we have ever done, it only happens when the person realizes that they are a promise keeper to themselves. And when they own that identity and when they understand the power of their promises, because a commitment, no matter how small or how big, that is the vehicle that will lead you to that self-love, that esteem, that confidence, the end goal. That's how you win in life, is when you're happy. It has nothing to do with what you weigh on the scale or money or anything like that. But if you love yourself, that's what I want for everybody. So how do we get them there? Well, we just get them there one promise at a time. Take the folks that we've worked with. It's really cool, and I'll know that they get it when they commit to just say 30 minutes on the treadmill, and I pull them off at 29 minutes. They will turn around and swing at me. They will fight me to get back on that treadmill. Now, what's 1 minute on a treadmill when it comes to a 200-pound weight loss journey? It's nothing. I mean, it's what, a minute on a treadmill? That's fractions of a hundredth of a pound, right? But it has nothing to do with the treadmill. It has everything to do with the promise that they made to themselves. And when we get to that point, it's my job as a coach just to get out of their way.
Right.
But until then, I still have to coach them upon their integrity and keeping their commitment to themselves. But when they get it, they get it. And that's when you see an individual go from ordinary to extraordinary.
I think if anyone is listening to this and they think, oh, I can't relate to this, I'm not severely overweight, no matter what your goal, Chris, you just talked about it, whether you're trying to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, etc., no matter what your goal, even if it's just to get a little bit fitter, work on your mental strength, it could be anything. It all starts with this piece of integrity, doing what you say when you're going to do it. So I think everyone can relate to this. So the idea of making those 15 commitments when all you really need is one to set that solid foundation, how do you communicate that to people when they are like incredibly fired up and they know all of these things that will help them? So how do you kind of like reel them in?
Yeah, it's a great question. Just because, a lot of people, especially when, after we give them the talk and they start to understand, still they get so, like you were saying, they're just fired up for this change. They want to take on a lot because they want that instant gratification. They're looking for those quick results. We explain to them, remember, like, integrity is a double-edged sword. And just as it will build you up, it will break you down just as quickly. So when you understand the power of a commitment, and say you make a commitment and then you break it, it's not like you just go back to square one. No, you fall the reciprocal. You go to -1. And then if you make a commitment and break it, you don't stay at -1. You drop to -2. And that's exactly at the very beginning of the conversation when I start asking people, hey, why do you hate yourself? Why do you hate yourself? And they're in this dark place of self-loathing, self-hatred. But the thing is, they don't know how they got there. It's because this is what happened, is that, for the first few times that they said, hey, 2010, this is my year. They probably said it in front of their family and friends and like, all right, here we go. And then, all of a sudden, Wednesday comes around and they're housing pizza, and then someone catches them, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, now I'm ashamed, now I'm weak. Okay, next time that I commit to something, I'm not going to say it out loud to anybody. It's going to be kind of under my breath. I'm going to go, all right, diet starts Monday, here we go. And you start making silent promises. Remember, integrity doesn't know gray areas. It doesn't know a loud promise from a silent promise. A commitment is a commitment. Integrity is integrity. It's very black and white. And when you make a commitment, doesn't matter if you made it in front of other people. When you do, there's a whole new level of accountability. But when you made a silent promise, it was just as powerful. And your dignity, remember, the integrity leads to dignity. And when you make that promise and you break that promise, you do more damage than had you never made that promise in the first place. And so what happens is that when I look out at all these people and I say, you hate yourself. Now you know why. But what I'm looking at right now, I'm looking at 40 to 50 of you, you're 350 to 600 pounds. I don't see 200 extra pounds of body fat on your body. I see 200 pounds of broken promises. That's what I'm looking at, and that's why you're sitting here.
Wow.
You got here, broken promise after broken promise after broken promise. So how are we going to get out? It's going to be you keep a promise to yourself. And so many of them, I say, well, you know what? You can do this. How many people of those 40 people really believe, truly and authentically believe that they are going to succeed at this? Not many. I mean, maybe one. There's a lot of hope, but all of them are so doubtful because they have broken so many promises to themselves, because typically they cluster these promises. They'll make 5 to 10 at a time.
Right.
So I say, here's what you're all going to do. And I lay out Foundation 5 is what we call them, the Foundation 5 promises. Promise number 1 is drink an extra quart of water a day. Promise number 2 is eat breakfast within 30 minutes of waking and every 3 hours thereafter. Promise number 3 is eat protein first at every meal. Promise number 4 is cut your sugar to less than 50 grams a day. And promise number 5 is move for 5 minutes a day. I have them all take on the very first promise, and they cannot take on another promise until they have kept that one for a certain amount of time, depending on the individual. And say, look, just keep that first promise to yourself for a week, and then you can take on power promise number 2. And those are the Foundation 5. And believe it or not, obviously I'm pulling from a pool of promises that live in nutrition and exercise, but it has nothing to do with nutrition and exercise. There's no power in nutrition and exercise. All the power is in ourselves. It's in our heart. It's in that commitment.
Right.
And that's, as coaches, for 365 days as we lead them through that transformation, that is the language that we speak. It's all about the commitment because, hey, we lay out diet and exercise. I can do that in 30 minutes. I'll tell you, this is what your year is going to look like. Now let's talk about keeping those promises. And so, hey, tackle number 1. And that's how we do it. It's, as the ancient Chinese proverb says, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, not a quantum leap. And these people, when they try to take a quantum leap, remember, they fall twice as far. So drink an extra quart of water a day. And when you've earned your own trust back there, and you can keep that without a shadow of a doubt, then take on the second one. And that's how we build it. We literally build it with just one promise at a time. That's
such a powerful lesson, and it just, I think the thing is, it just builds so much trust in yourself, which immediately has a cascade effect in your entire life. No matter how small that goal is, if you're following through on something that you told yourself you're gonna follow through on, it leaks into every aspect of your life, and that's the foundation for whether it be a huge transformation or just accomplishing a big goal that you have. I think that's key.
Well, it's everything. It's everything. And granted, our approach is specific to those individuals that want to lose weight. But yes, I mean, whether it's performance or whether it's relationship or career or anything, it is. Remember, integrity is the nature of it's the language of the soul, and it does lead to happiness, to self-love, to all these different things. And so you can take this same formula and apply it to every aspect of your life, and it's something that I regularly practice every single day. I mean, that's what got me where I'm at now, is just keeping my commitments to myself.
I love it, man. What are a couple other of maybe the 2 other biggest mistakes that people make when they're trying to lose weight, lose body fat?
Oh gosh. Emotionally and psychologically, I say realistic expectations. So many people, they go into the journey thinking, with these unrealistic expectations of what the journey is going to be like. and what's going to happen when they arrive, when they get there. And a lot of people think the journey is going, especially after we give the integrity talk. Because people are like, I get it. All right, I'm a promise keeper to myself. I'm never going to break a promise. This is how we're going to do it. Like, I understand the course. And a week and a half in, they break a promise to themselves. Because, the journey is not all hugs and high fives.
Right.
The journey is like, you fall flat on your face time and time and time again. So it's really cool. Actually, believe it or not, we kind of created a formula. And this formula is tried and true for what happens when you fall. Because you are going to fall, like I said, over and over again. You're going to break promises to yourself. It's a really simple process. If you do break a promise, it's a 3-step process to getting back up on your feet. 1, you confess. You got to reach out and you got to tell someone exactly what you did, how you broke the promise, give them the dirty details. 2, reassess that promise, reassess the commitment that was broken, determine if it was just a fluke of nature, it was a random situation that seemed out of your control, the promise wasn't kept, or maybe the promise was a little bit too big and you need to downsize it so that you can keep it without a shadow of a doubt. And then finally, you simply recommit to that promise and you move forward with more enthusiasm than ever. So keep in mind that, integrity is everything. That's how you build this foundation for any kind of transformation, any kind of lifelong change. But you're going to fall on your face on a regular basis. No matter how, quote unquote, perfect you are, you're going to mess up. And then when you do, those 3 things: confess, reassess, recommit. Another thing is people set unrealistic expectations of their support system. And I will always speak, especially in the weight loss realm, just because this is my experience. And so I'm not going to pretend to be a pro when it comes to performance or career or finances or anything like that. But in our experience, we've certainly found time and again that most people go into this journey when they're fired up about making a lifelong change for themselves. They really think that their family and friends are going to support them, and this isn't always the case. It's unfortunate, but at the same time, you kind of have to understand it from other people's perspectives, and that change is scary. And look how long, if there's any individual out there who's looking to make some kind of lifelong change, it usually took them quite some time to finally jump on board and be like, all right, I'm going to do this. And then all of a sudden, you go home and you blindside your family and your friends. And you're like, here we go. We're going to do this and I'm going to do this. And you expect them to be extremely supportive. But it can be even more intimidating to them. And a lot of times, people will find themselves extremely frustrated because their family and friends won't jump on board, or that they feel that their family and friends are trying to sabotage their progress, and the whole journey by saying, well, let's go to, we got to go get some wings, and, you're too good for us now. You can't have pizza with us. And,
Right.
But it's Jimmy's birthday. Just have some cake, and they're trying to get you to break those commitments to yourself. Now, they don't understand the aspect of integrity. They don't understand this process. And you got to understand that for them, a lot of their pressure and a lot of their behavior revolves around their own fears of losing you. A lot of times they're terrified to lose you. Or a lot of times spouses, one spouse wants to change, the other one doesn't. And so the one that doesn't will definitely try to sabotage the spouse that wants to change because they don't want them to leave. So fear definitely controls a lot of us and a lot of our social situations. So it's a really, it's important for people to have realistic expectations for that. And then that's also why we encourage people to start looking for support groups and friends outside of their immediate friends and family. And here I am going to get on my CrossFit soapbox, but that is one thing that I really appreciate about the CrossFit community. And we've used it since season 1 of the show, is that we've reached out to these local boxes where our folks live, and we send them in there. And sure enough, they realize that a lot of they make new best friends in this community of people that are right there in their local box. And they're like-minded people that are truly and genuinely supportive of the journey that they're on, because having that community is everything.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that the support one is that's a really great point, and something that happens to almost everyone when they say for instance start a new diet or something like that, but they don't really catch that piece of it. The friends don't want to go on the diet with them and stuff like that, so they probably just need to learn to, one, prepare for that emotionally, and then prepare for that in the literal sense. You have to bring your own food places and stuff like that. You can't expect for your family and friends to want to eat what you're going to eat on this new diet, or I'm just
Totally.
using that as an arbitrary example, but I think it applies to a lot of different things.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even think about when you were struggling with your addiction. I mean, one of the things you had to do is you probably had to remove yourself from your group of friends,
Absolutely.
and you had to find a group that was really supportive of what you're doing. Now, it's not that your group of friends that were addicts, they're not bad people by any stretch of the imagination. They're great people. They're, boy, but I tell you what, so many of them are driven by fear. They're terrified that they can't live without their drug. They're terrified that they can't live without you, without their other friends. And so they're constantly trying to hang on to everything they can to try to keep life as normal as it can be as they know it. And so just, we've seen transformation. We've seen it change lives in the most wonderful way, but we've also seen it definitely break relationships apart. And it doesn't necessarily have to, especially when you're in the know. You can be you. You can still defend your choices and your integrity. You can protect it, but simply having compassion for your family and friends, even if they aren't supportive, can definitely save relationships. Because I know a lot of people have gone through the journey of transformation, and they get so pissed off that their family and friends don't support them. It literally tears families apart. Don't get pissed off. Just have a little compassion for the
Right.
fear that your family and friends are living in because they think they're going to lose you.
Right.
So if you look at it in a little bit of a different way, it can save a lot of relationships, and also can create a level of communication where you guys can really speak on a much more authentic level and open up about that.
I love that, man. I want to change gears a little bit, talk about more you personally. You are one of the most successful guys I've ever met, in every sense of the word. Your health, your career, your relationships. What are 1 to 3 things that you do every single day that you think contribute to your happiness and your success?
Wow. Well, first and foremost, thank you. I appreciate
Yeah, yeah.
that. I tell you, I am certainly a work in progress. But I mean, without a doubt, I must say, I certainly find, and I'm not trying to be all corny or anything here, but definitely gauge a lot of my success just on my family. I am so blessed to have like my amazing wife and my 4 kids. They are such a blessing in my life, and I got to tell you, like, I laugh and I smile and I cry with them more than I've ever laughed, smiled, and cried in my life, and it's just awesome. I try not to cry around them too much, because
Right.
I'm
You got to be
yeah.
a tough guy.
So yeah, exactly. But lots of laughing and smiling for sure. But so let's see. Gosh, something I do every day. I am, and this isn't just a one-time thing, but I mean every single time that anybody leaves the house, whether it's my wife or my kids, I will always say I love you before they leave, before the door closes. That's always, I think that's really important, so that they always know. I mean, no matter what, like, even if someone was just disciplined, or even if there's been an all out spat between me and Hides,
Yeah.
before the door closes, we'll always say I love you. And then I must say, like, just for my own mental health and my sanity, I always carve out at least 5 minutes a day for me to do something active. And I say 5 minutes because I've learned my lesson. that if I carve out 30, sometimes 30 ain't going to happen. And integrity is really important to me. So no joke, sometimes I'll just walk out in the garage and I'll just do a warm up. I'll just do like the brute strength warm up or something. Do a bunch of Cossack squats and band pulls, right?
There you go.
And hey, after 5 minutes, I won. I've kept my commitment. And a lot of times, no matter what it is that I just stepped away from, I feel a lot better. Or sometimes after 5 minutes, I'm like, hey, I got 45 minutes. I'm ready to rock. Let me throw some weight on this barbell and I'm going to clean it, or whatever. So I would say, yeah, those are two things that are definitely a regular staple in my day. Lots of I love yous and that time to myself.
I love that, man. What do you do to maybe decompress? Because you have a lot of you're going all the time. Yeah, how do you decompress?
All right, so I'm going to get real with you here, and this is not no, actually, like this is nothing to brag about, and this is ridiculous. But oddly enough, like so, Heidi and I have found we'll do this at the end of every day, and it's ridiculous. But we will sit there in bed together and we'll scroll through Instagram looking for funny memes. And we sit there, we laugh and laugh and laugh. I mean, at the most ridiculous, raunchy things in the world. They are there are some brilliant people on Instagram.
Yeah.
And so we sit there literally next to each other, Mike, and like I'll start snickering and I'll be like, oh, babe, you got to check this one out. And then she'll show me one. And it is, no jokes, probably one of the highlights of my day.
Love it. You always have that to look forward to.
And I know it's like, it's social media and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? There's some good that can come from that.
Right.
It's awesome.
For sure. What kind of, so I just said you're always going, you've got your hands in a lot of different baskets. How do you stay motivated? You can't possibly just get out of bed 100% positive and motivated every day. Are there any specific things, either internal or external, that you do to stay motivated to continue kicking ass at all of these things?
Oh gosh. Hey, today's a great example. I don't know why, like I hit it hard yesterday as far as training goes, and I woke up this morning and I'm fighting something. Like I'm kind of beat down, and so I didn't train at all today, and I was just a little out of it, and it's just one of those days where I just kind of feel like I got to grind through. But I'm not trying to sound righteous here or anything, but I really truly believe that I'm going to back up here just a little bit. We get a lot of folks reaching out to us for help. And for years, like it's the hardest thing in the world to get hundreds of questions, and thousands of emails from people, asking for help. And then every time I open up my social media, it's questions and questions and questions. I mean, dude, as well as I do, especially, you spend a long time in this industry. There's a lot of folks out there that need a lot of help. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, there's a lot of information out there, and there's a lot of confusion. And so my driving force is creating something for them, something for the masses, where it's going to be, and this is going to be something I'll work on for years, but I really want to continue to create the most holistic transformation program ever built. And I don't want to say ever built, because it will always be a work in progress. I mean, why not create a solution for people where they have that coaching, right there with them at all times? Why not create nutrition solutions and exercise solutions and coaching solutions and the emotional and psychological, including the emotional and psychological component for everybody that needs it? It's like, Heidi and I, we were blessed to work with, 15 to 20 people a year with transformation. But I mean, as far as just looking at folks who are overweight in the United States, it's over 200 million people. It's like 74% of the United States is overweight. And a huge portion of that, they're obese. And they're just looking for help. Mm-hmm. They just want some education and some inspiration and some motivation. And the thing is, like, there's so much I would love to share with them. Beginning with what we've spoken about here today, and then to follow it up with just those, with real life solutions and tools to help them get where they want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And especially having worked in the trenches since I was 19 years old, personal training, there are so many gaps in the industry that need to be filled in order to get people from point A to point Z in the least amount of time and with the least amount of effort. Because really, life change should be fast, it should be easy, it should be fun, it should be affordable, it should be convenient, and it should be delicious. Like that's my goal. That's what I want transformation to be for everybody. That way, everybody can do it, and whether you do it or not comes down to the simple choice. But I want to make it so fun and so affordable and so delicious that you won't choose not to.
I love that. I love that, man. So that is your purpose. So my next question was, in 20 years, what do you want to make absurd? So, in the past, if you would have driven down the road and littered, that was okay. Now it's absurd, right? Or a clerk in a grocery store smoking. Back in the day, that would be okay. Now it's absurd. What do you want to be absurd?
Oh, wow. Buddy, these are some deep questions, man. Oh, gosh. Just silence on that.
That's okay, man.
All you get is some crickets over here.
Well, you started, you've definitely given pieces of that answer, I think, already. So,
Yeah. It's not that it's not that I want to make obesity absurd or anything. It would be, I want to make an unhealthy lifestyle absurd.
mm-hmm.
Like I had just was talking about. I want to create, to make it fun and easy and delicious and affordable and convenient. Like, what if a healthy lifestyle was that?
Right.
So it's like, really, yes. That is my answer. I want to make an unhealthy lifestyle absolutely absurd.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So like, someone, you see someone eating the way that they eat now, and 20 years from now, they're like, really? What are you doing? Like, this food's so much more delicious. It's more affordable. It's easier. It's more fun. It's convenient. Everybody's doing it. Like, yes, that's what I want.
Love that, man. Okay, a few lighter questions, and then we'll wrap it up.
Right.
What is the book or other resource that you gift to others most often?
Oh gosh. Well, okay. So this isn't shameless, I promise, but I think you know where this is going.
Of course.
Yeah. In fact, you just got one as a gift, believe it or not. But the book that Heidi and I just released, it really is the gift that we're giving to everybody. And only reason being is that because it is so near and dear to us, it really is, 15 years of experience of being in the trenches of all of those, the psychological and the physiological components that we have found have changed lives. And so we've consolidated all of them in a very organized manner. This is the third book that we've done, and without a doubt, I mean, I dare I say masterpiece, but this is definitely the one that we have put more time and energy into, because I really, when we set out to create this, we wanted to create the guide, like just the solution for people to pick up and say, oh yeah, I get it now.
Yep.
And this is a reasonable, and it's a fun way to do it. So we've definitely been gifting our book, Extreme Transformation. And so we've been definitely having a lot of fun with it. And I must say, I mean, gosh, the book, it was released December 22nd, and it's been really, really cool to get the feedback so far. I mean, mind-blowing for sure. And, Hides and I, we've definitely been high-fiving each other because, like we've been getting the feedback from the publisher on the sales, et cetera, and it was a number one seller on Amazon and everything like that.
Wow.
So, which we're fired up about, but the reviews from the people, that's what really makes a difference to us. And it's so cool because Hides and I were on our social media like every day, just looking at, and going back and forth with people as they're going through this transformation from the book. And we couldn't be happier. It is, and thank goodness everybody who's reading it, they get it.
Right.
They get the power behind it. They get the emotional aspect. They're loving the recipes. So we couldn't be happier about everything and the results that people are posting already. We're 2-3 weeks in. I mean, it's amazing because there's all these people transforming out there, and that's exactly what we wanted.
That's so cool, man. Who all do you think this book is good for? Is it just people that are severely overweight, or what?
Oh gosh, no, not at all. I mean, well, honestly, when I wrote this book, believe it or not, and I do a lot from this perspective. I actually wrote it from my perspective, of course, and Heidi's perspective, but also as a guide for, whether you're looking to lose, 15 to 20 pounds, or whether you're looking to lose 200 something pounds. Really, the lessons are the same. These are lessons that I applied to my life to change my life. Heidi applied them to hers. We use all these same components, for the athlete who's looking to increase their 40-yard dash to the person who's looking to lose 200 something pounds. And so, I mean, it's been a really awesome experience. But that's the best part, is that, especially when it comes down to the psychological and emotional lessons, it's lessons that we all need to know just as human beings looking to make our lives better.
Well, I can't wait to read it, man. I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, you have a signed copy, my friend. Yeah. And you read what I wrote on the inside. I meant every word.
Well, I don't know if Heidi told you, but that it was returned. It went to the wrong address. I think she sent it to my address, but in Arizona. So I haven't gotten it yet.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hopefully you'll be getting it soon.
Yeah. My last question: who is someone that you look up to in the fitness industry or any industry, dead or alive as well?
Oh wow. Okay. I've been a really big fan of Tony Robbins. Always have been. And I got to say, like, that the guy, he's got such an incredible knack for connecting with people and for inspiring and for just getting people fired up. I was a fan of him. In fact, it was actually a lot of his work that helped me through my really rough times. Mm-hmm. And so I've been a fan of his for, 8-9 years now. And a lot of his teachings, and a lot of his work, and a lot of his quotes really helped keep me on a good, healthy path. So, yeah. And in fact, personally, I've never met him, but I would love to have the chance to someday.
I love it. I think that's a definite possibility.
I hope so.
Yeah, he's an amazing human being. I'm
yes.
taking cold showers because of him.
That's awesome.
That's how cool I think he is.
Yep.
If he takes cold showers, I'm taking fucking cold showers.
Yep, absolutely.
Where can people find you? You're at Chris Powell on everything, or is it different?
It's actually at Real Chris Powell.
A lot of imposters out there.
You know what? Hey, that's they say it's the greatest form of flattery, right?
Uh-huh.
But sure enough, especially in my space, like in the weight loss space, there's a lot of room for other people to go on there and start selling a bunch of gimmicky weight loss stuff and pills and all that other stuff. And so, we had to get everything, stamped official. So on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, it's Real Chris Powell, and my wife is Real Heidi Powell.
Awesome. And then where can they buy the book? Amazon, website?
Yeah.
Where's your website?
The website is just chrispowell.com or heidipowell.net. And Amazon, you can get it at Target, you can get it, I think, Walmart, just like and Barnes & Noble, of course, all the big book resellers, or retailers, I should say. That's basically where you can get it. But of course, you can't go wrong with Amazon. It's nice and fast. Or you can also get it on
again of the book.
Oh, it's Extreme Transformation.
Okay. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it. This has been phenomenal.
Oh, dude, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And thanks for the candid questions, because
Absolutely.
This is, it's not often that I really get to dive into the real stuff, and I know everybody wants this, 5 tips for, getting a better booty and all that other good stuff. And while it's somewhat useful, when you really dive into the emotional and psychological components, that's when lives are changed. And so it changed my life. So Thanks. I really appreciate the candid conversation.
Absolutely, man. Thanks again. And guys, if you haven't signed up for our newsletter yet, go to brutestrengthtraining.com. Sign up for that thing. We will send all the new podcasts there, blog posts, and then update you on when Brute Body launches, which is within the next few weeks. I know everybody's excited about that. All right. Thanks again, Chris. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care, buddy. We'll talk soon.